Hi there. Power Query, and particularly the Power Query editor. I want to have a quick look at this. Now I've got the Power Query editor in front of me and the 3 Excel files that we brought in the earlier videos. What we need to appreciate is that a query on the left-hand side of the Power Query editor is basically a table. If I click on sales, I can see the information in the sales table or query, the customers table or query, and the orders table or query. So this information was originally formatted as a table in Excel, but is actually referred to as a query in Power Query, and we have 3 of them. They are presented to us in the order in which they were imported, but we can easily drag them up and down and rearrange them. What we can also do is we can double click and we can rename a query. And we can also press the delete key and delete a query if we felt we no longer needed that data. Besides double clicking to rename, pressing to delete, and dragging up and down to rearrange, you do have the option to right click. I know some of my learners prefer to right click when it comes to deleting a query, renaming a query, or even moving it up or moving it down. Okay, so those are your queries. Now on the right hand side, you have what they call the query settings. And let's start with sales. Here is the name of the query, and this is yet another way that you could rename this query. You could even go into all properties and rename the query in here. And a lot of people also like to write descriptions about the queries or the tables and describe the data that is in that table. And that is best practice to document your queries. So don't be shy to do that. I'll go cancel. Now also we have on the right hand side steps. And so the whole idea is if I click on source, this is the source, and you can see it up here in the formula bar. This is the source of the data, the name of the file and where it's located. When I choose navigation, that actually brings the data in. And then a third step was performed by the Power Query editor, which was to change the data type of the columns. Because while I'm sitting on navigation, if I look at the column headings, there's the data type to the left of each column heading. And ABC123 basically means that any data, any type of data could exist in those columns. So once it brings in the data, the third thing that the Power Query editor has automatically done is it's changed the data type. It's looked at the first 1,000 rows in that query and decided, is the type of data in that column a date, a number, text, and clarifies these options. And so when I click on change type, you'll see that sales 2021, 2020, and 2019 are now 1.2 data types, which means that they're decimal numbers. And that's true because some of these have got decimal points. It's decided also that the first 3 columns are definitely text columns. So instead of ABC 1, 2, 3, it's made them ABC. So by clicking on the steps, you can see the transformation that has been done to that query by Power Query just by bringing it in to Power BI. It's gone to the source, it's navigated to the record, and it's changed the data type. If I click on customers, I can see the source, where it's come from. It's a table, it's called customers, and it's a sheet. And if I go to navigation, it's brought the data in. And if I go promote headers, what you'll notice promote headers means this first row here, customer ID, company name, contact name. The Power Query editor has decided to promote that first row and turn them into column headings. So that's the third thing it did. And then it did the fourth thing where it actually looked at all the columns and decided based on the first, and that's written down here, by profiling based on the first or the top 1,000 rows, it's gone and changed or set the data types to more accurate data types for each column. Do the same for orders. Have a look at orders. Orders, there is the source. Again, we had a table and we had a sheet. We had a defined named range. Actually, we had a named range and a sheet, but for customers, we simply had source, a sheet, but for sales and source, we had a sheet and a table. So those are the different things that existed in that file. So when we went to orders and we went to the source, we chose the sheet and it navigated us to the data. There it is there. And then it promoted the first row here and made those into column headings there. And then it changed the data type from being a generic variant to being a specific decimal, number, text, 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 and a date data type. As far as the data types go, Power BI and Power Query does its best to profile the data based on the top 1000 rows and determine the data type. But if the data set is very large and exceeds 1000 rows, then actually beyond that 1000, maybe in the 2000 area, the data may not actually be a number. It may actually suddenly have a text entry in there, maybe not available, N/A or a dash, in which case the data type that Power Query has assigned may not be accurate or correct. You can change that if you want to just by hitting the button to the left of the column heading. And when you click that button, you can see the finite list of options. So when it comes to what the data type is of the data in a column, it can be a decimal number, a fixed decimal number, a whole number, a percentage, a data time, just a date, just a time, a data time with a time zone. It can be a duration, a text field, a true, false, or on-off Boolean field, or even a binary data type. So you can change the data type if you feel that the data type that Power Query chose based on the top 1000 rows was incorrect. Be very careful because that does have consequences. If, for example, you change a column from being a number column to a text column, you will no longer be able to sum or count or apply a lot of functions to that column because it's no longer considered a number column. So be very careful with your data assignments, data type assignments. Okay, so I just want to do a few things. First of all, I want to drag these queries and put them in alphabetical order. So C, I'm going to drag customers, begins with C to the top, and orders becomes second. So you can drag these up and down and rearrange them. Now I actually want to rename orders, and I can do that by double clicking or changing it over here. My preference is actually a key that I use in Excel an awful lot, which is the function key F2. So I'm going to press F2 and I'm going to call it orders 1997 to 2000. You really want to make the description or the names of your queries really clear so people do understand what it is that they're looking at. So don't be too brief, be descriptive. Sales, I'm going to press F2 and call that sales 2019 to 2020. So I've renamed some of these queries. I want to save my Power BI file, and I can do that and inside of Power Query just by hitting the save button. So saving can be done within Power Query and within Power BI. But if I actually hit close and apply, it'll apply those changes to my Power BI screen. And once I get into Power BI, so close and apply, I will see that those queries on the right hand side will eventually appear with their new names. So we can easily rename them. They were already in an order, alphabetical in Power BI. To return to Power Query, I'm just going to hit my Transform Data button and I'll be taken back to the Power Query editor. Come back for the next video.